Hello, everybody, but today, especially my Filipino viewers. I see you, I know you. I look at my channel analytics. And welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be asking the question, how would I judge Drag Race Philippines Season 2? Now, this is a season where, the vast majority of this cast is iconic. Like, such great characters, great TV, good challenges. A lot of this season is really damn good. But there are aspects of this season that are not good. Some of the people, some of the things that happen, some of this is just not great, and that's okay, sometimes that happens. But today we're going to be going through, and I will be judging the season based off my own preferences, ideas, all of that stuff. As always, the season has to be as long as Season 2 of Drag Race Philippines originally was, which was 10 episodes, 9 competitive episodes, and the finale. And the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they were in the bottom originally, or vice versa, unless there is strong fan support for that being the case. The goal of this video is to act as if I am the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal tastes and what was shown to us on the show. Before we get into this video though, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy yourself here, or if you don't enjoy yourself. Only about 30% of my viewers are currently subscribed, so if you would subscribe, that would be amazing. That would make my day, make my life, make my universe. Universe? I mean, that's a bit of a stretch. But please do, it'd be great. I would really appreciate it. Okay, starting off here with episode 1, we are keeping the split premiere girl groups situation. I'm keeping this because if we were to unsplit it and just have it be a singular episode at the very beginning, then we would get into, I feel like, some tricky scenarios later with the amount of people going into certain challenges. There's going to be some scenarios and things that happen in this video that I'm not really the biggest fan of, but in order to keep the flow of this season being consistent and making sense, some decisions that I'm not the happiest with, I feel like had to be made. So we're starting off episode 1 with our first girl group. They have to write lyrics and perform to the song Booksh, and this girl group is the Pack Girls. And I kept all the placements the same. I think this is a pretty fairly judged episode. Now, I usually, in an episode with 6 contestants in it, would do a win, high, a safe, and then a low, and then the bottom 2, and then one of them getting eliminated. But I decided not to do that here because I felt like for each episode, well, first of all, they were judged this way individually, and that there was a pretty clear split within the episodes of okay, these 3 did the best and these 3 did the worst. So it felt like it just made sense to do it like this. And because of the way this season is, and the fact that originally there were 5 episodes with 6 contestants competing in them, and there's also going to be 5 episodes in this season with 6 contestants competing in them as well. Spoiler alert, none of those episodes are going to have my typical win, high, safe, low, and then the bottom 2 in it. None of them are going to have that. Just a fair warning as the way that this is going to end up going. But, okay, Arizona Brandy kills this episode, I feel like. The ending part of her verse is the main part that I think of when I think of this version of the song. I think of the ending of Arizona Brandy's verse. So it really just made complete sense to me. Yeah, Arizona Brandy, she wins. Keep it all the same. Kat Kat and Miss Jade So do a pretty damn good job in this challenge. They're going to be placing high. And then so our bottom 3 is going to stay the same. Matilda is going to be low. And then Tiny Deluxe and Nicole Bardot are going to be the bottom 2. And they're going to be lip-syncing to Here We Go by Fourth Impact. And Tiny Deluxe does a better job than Nicole. So Nicole is going to go home here, sadly. And yeah, pretty much the exact same episode that we're going to be dealing with. Going to move on to episode 2. Alrighty, in episode 2, we have our second girl group challenge, singing to Booksh, the same shit as the first episode, but just with our second round of contestants. And I do make a bit of a change here in this episode. I decided to switch Hanabeshi's and Varushka levels placements here, moving Hanabeshi up to the low and Varushka levels down to the bottom 2. And I feel like it just makes a lot of sense. Like, when asked who should go home, the majority of people said Varushka levels. And, I mean, she did the reveal that, you know, she didn't warn people about, which is just kind of, like, it's not like a bad thing technically, but it's just kind of rude. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, you shouldn't like add in an element at the last second that could affect the performances of everybody else in your group. That's just kind of shitty. But you know, that and everybody saying that she did a bad job, and the fact that she was one of the bottom 3 just in general in terms of the performances, I feel like it makes the most sense to put Varushka in the bottom instead of Hana, who I think did a better job than Astrid. So that's why she's going to get that low placement there, but every other placement is the same. Bernie is going to win. Dee Marie Holiday and Ovi Kunt are going to be high. And then our bottom 2 is Varushka Levels and Astrid Mercury, and they're going to be lip-syncing to Unleash the Diva by Fourth Impact. And this was a bit of a tricky one to figure out for me. I wasn't 100% sure how it would go here, but I think it just makes sense to keep Varushka here. As we see in Varushka's later lip sync, Varushka doesn't do a bad job. I mean, in the lip sync that she ends up losing, she does worse than Matilda and Dee, but she doesn't like shit the bed or anything. Like, she does a fine job in it. And Astrid, I think, did a pretty alright job here as well. And so, considering the fact that I think that Varushka and Astrid would probably do similar levels on this lip sync, I feel like it just makes most sense to keep the person who overall probably did a better job in the challenge, and that would be, for me, Varushka levels. So Varushka is going to stay here, and Astrid Mercury is going to leave in the same episode as she did originally, and we're going to move on, merging our groups together in episode 3. Already in episode 3, we have the design challenge of asking who wore it better that they've done on like UK season 2 and another season of Drag Race, probably, I think. I'm forgetting though if there is. I really don't remember. But regardless, all the people that won in their pairs are going to win in their pairs again, but we're going to have a different winner here. Varushka Levels is not going to win the challenge. Hanabeshi is going to win the challenge. I loved Hanabeshi's outfit. It just felt like it made sense. The theme for hers was Fiesta, and it really just, it worked for me. It made a lot of sense. I loved it. I feel like some of the discourse that I've seen online said that Jade should have gotten the win, and I do think Jade was my second favorite of the week, but I really just like Hanabeshi's better. It just felt so perfect to me as like an outfit. And also, I think giving Hanabeshi a win here, especially after being kind of one of the people I feel like on this season who is coming in with like less of like a name or like a thing with her, because like Miss Jade comes in being like a fan favorite, like being a star, and then you have people who have found success or fame in some other realm or are like very established. Like, we have Dee, Bernie, and Kat, who are all kind of like staples in Filipino drag. We have Ovi Kunt, who is a drag sister to like Marina Summers and Prince, and is well known as being part of that. Like Tiny Deluxe, drag daughter of Venus Deluxe. Like, a lot of people here come in having some claim to fame that they can like walk in with, that I feel like, as from an outsider perspective, Hanabeshi doesn't have as much of. And so I think giving Hanabeshi the win here, while not due to this fact, I think is very interesting and like brings the season up for me as somebody who, you know, comes in with less of like a foot in the door than some of the other people here, winning a challenge on episode 3 and establishing herself as like, hey, I'm a competitor in this thing and I'm gonna fucking kill it. And I really like that for her. That is the only change in placements I made in this episode, was switching Varushka and Hana. Dee Marie Holiday, Matilda, Miss Jade So, and Varushka Levels are all going to be placing high. Bernie and Ovi Kunt are safe. Captivating Kat is low, and our bottom 2, as originally, is going to be Arizona Brandy and Tiny Deluxe. They're going to be lip syncing to Kitty Girl by RuPaul, and Tiny Deluxe is going to lose this lip sync to Arizona Brandy. I feel like it was pretty fair the first time the way that it shook out, and so it's going to be staying the same here. And also, Tiny Deluxe, her episode before this, she was in the bottom two. Arizona won her episode, so it's like, she didn't really stand that much of a chance here in this scenario, but Tiny Deluxe did a good job while she was here, I feel like, regardless. And we're going to move on to episode 4. Okay, in episode 4, we have ourselves a Snatch Game! In this episode, I again, with as the last few episodes, only make one change in the placements, and that is I decided to move Dee Dee Marie Holiday up from the bottom 3 into the low placement. Now, I feel like it was pretty clear from the Snatch Game that Dee Dee, Matilda, and Verushka were like the bottoms. Like, it was very obvious to me of that fact. But I thought Dee Dee was kind of funny. Like, there were points where I was like, oh, that's stupid. Like, not the funny where I was, like, laughing, but the funny where I was like, oh, you're kind of clever, girl. I get it. Like, I get what you're trying to do, and it's kind of funny to me. So, I feel like Dee Dee deserved to low instead. Like, I don't know why they did a bottom 3 here. I don't feel like it was necessary. I felt like Matilda and Verushka were, like, solidly the bottom 2, at least for me. But every other placement's going to stay the same. Captivating Cat Cat's going to win here. I'm going to be entirely frank here. As much as I don't like her, she killed it. Like, she killed the fuck out of the Snatch Game. I was kind of in awe, actually, of what the fuck she was doing. It was so good. So she is going to win here. Arizona Brandy and Ovi Cunt are going to be placing high. Bernie, Hanabeshi, and Miss Jade So are going to be safe. And then, as stated earlier, our bottom 2 are going to be Matilda and Verushka Levels. They're going to be lip-syncing to Bonga Kadai by Kim Molina. And Matilda murders this. She fucking kills this lip-sync. I fucking love the way that Matilda lip-syncs. She is so great. And she's going to win this lip-sync against Verushka. And Verushka is going to go home here. And we're going to be moving on to episode 5. In episode 5, we have Serena the Rusical, which is like a play on The Little Mermaid, obviously. All of our same contestants are still here, so they're all going to get the same rules and everything. I, again, just make one change in this episode, and that is, originally, there was 4 contestants in the top, those being Dee Dee, Captivating Cat Cat, Ovi, and Bernie. I decided to take Bernie out of the top. And I want to be clear to everybody here. I love Bernie. Bernie is my favorite contestant from this season. I don't know why the first time I just said her name for a second it sounded like Bernie. Like it just slurred together. But regardless, I fucking love her. She's my favorite contestant. But I thought she did like a fine job in this musical. I just like I just wasn't living for it. Like I didn't hate it, but like it was very like the same level of like Arizona's to me, where I'm like, okay, she did fine. Like that was fully the way I thought about it. I thought she did fine. So I decided to take her out of the top. And I decided to not put anybody as low. Nobody was low originally, and I didn't feel like any of them like did bad enough or did separately bad enough from anybody else for them to be like low. Like I feel like Arizona, Bernie, and Hana all did pretty similar levels of okay in this of alright in this challenge. If I were to like say which one was my favorite, I would say Hanabeshi was my favorite. But looking between Arizona and Bernie, seeing who's worse, I really don't know how to answer that question. So I'm just like not gonna answer that question. They're just gonna be safe. So Dee Dee Marie Holiday is gonna win this episode again, as she did originally. Cat Cat and Ovi are high. We've already touched upon our safes, and the bottom 2 are going to be Miss Jade So and Matilda. The lip sync song is Gusto Kunang Bumitao by Morissette, and Miss Jade So murders this lip sync. She fucking kills it. Like, I can't even, like I don't know how to even describe how much I feel like she murdered this. It was just so, like, beautiful, hauntingly beautiful. And the fucking face that she served and the way that she dictated the words was just, I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. It was amazing. Like, I feel like, I honestly can't remember if I made my top 15 lip syncs video before this lip sync happened. I don't have a concept of time. But if this lip sync came out after, like, I kind of want to add it to the list. It's at very least an honorable mention to me. Like, it is my favorite lip sync performance individually of the season, far and away. Like, no questions asked. I love this lip sync from Miss Jade So. But sadly, because Miss Jade So did an amazing job in this lip sync, Matilda is going to be leaving in this episode. And we're going to be moving on to episode 6. In episode 6, we have ourselves the acting challenge, where they have to act in a soap opera that, goes off the rails. And in this episode, originally Cat Cat won. And I feel like Cat Cat should have been high. Like, I was like, yeah, Cat Cat did a good job. But Ovi Cunt fucking murdered this. She's such an actress. She really is. Like, she kills in every acting challenge she does on this season. She fucking murders it. It's like, it's amazing to me. She's really good at it. And so originally Ovi Cunt was safe, but I was like, no. She deserves to win. She deserves to win this shit. So I put her in the win because I feel like she deserves it and I like her. I love her just as much as Bernie. It kind of flip-flops in my brain of who's my favorite of the season, Ovi Cunt or Bernie. But, like, she won for me. Like, it was no questions asked. And so, because this is a 7-person episode, and there's 3 tops, 3 bottoms, and a safe, either Bernie or Hanabeshi had to rescind their high placement. And because I had shown a bit of favor to Hana prior in the season, well, not because of that, but, incidentally, it kind of just works out. I feel like Hana did worse than Bernie in this episode, so Hanabeshi is going to be safe, and Bernie is going to keep her high placement. Our bottoms are going to be staying exactly the same in terms of their placements. Arizona Brandy is going to place low, and the bottom 2 are going to be Miss Jade So and Didi Marie Holiday. They're going to be lip-syncing to I Bring the Beat by RuPaul, and Didi falls. So I feel like it is entirely fair based off of the lip-sync results that Miss Jade So wins and Didi Marie Holiday goes home. This is the way it happened originally. I think it's fair to keep it exactly the same. And Didi, after winning a challenge in the previous episode, is going to go home here, which is sad for her. This happens 3 times on the original season. Barushka wins a challenge, then goes home. Didi wins a challenge, then goes home. And then Ovi Cunt wins a challenge and goes home. Thankfully, this is the only time this will be happening during this season. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, we're going to be moving on to episode 7. So here we have a makeover episode. And because of the way that this episode is set up and the whole concept of it is the fact that they're, well, for the most of them, giving senior citizens makeovers, it just feels so shitty to be like, yeah, you're going to be in the bottom because your 70-year-old partner didn't walk on the runway good. Like, that's just shitty. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I liked this episode of, like, the connection and, like, the transformation for these people. Like, it was cute. I enjoyed it. But it also just felt like it's a weird episode to include in a competitive reality show where it's like, you would just feel shitty if anybody went home on this episode, so why are you doing it? It feels kind of odd to me in that way. But regardless, I decided to keep this situation the same and have no elimination, just a top 2. Now, the way that most people are kind of like talking about this episode and like how other people do like track records and placements for this episode is that Bernie wins, Ovi Cunt is top 2, and then everybody else is high. But I do not prescribe to that. I think if there's a non-elimination episode of this format where there's a top 2, it doesn't make sense for people to be high because I feel like being high necessitates that you're doing better than somebody below you. Whereas I feel like being safe just means like you did a fine job and you get to move on. Like, I don't feel like the meaning of placing safe necessitates that there is like a low or a bottom 2 below you in the episode. And so I feel like it's weird to have like a top 2 and then everyone else is high. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to be doing this the way that I tend to do this, where there's a non-elimination episode with like a top 2, and have one person place high as being like in consideration for the top 2, and then everybody else is safe. So out of everybody, I decided that Hanabeshi did the best out of Hana, Arizona, Cat, and Jade. I feel like she did the best out of all of them. So she's going to get the high placement here, and really all the other placements kind of stay the same. Bernie and Obi-kun are going to be the top 2 of the week, and they're going to be lip-syncing to A Little Kiss, A Little Hug by Bernie Varga. And Bernie won this lip-sync originally, and she is still going to win this lip-sync because she killed it. She did a good job. And so Bernie is going to be the first person with 2 challenge wins in this scenario. And we're going to be moving on to episode 8. Okay, in episode 8, we have ourselves a commercial challenge where they had to do commercials for shampoos and make their own worlds and scenarios and blah 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 blah. Now, originally, we had the same win high and then like a low and then a bottom 2 as we had in the first 2 episodes of the season. I decided not to do that here. And I decided to do a win high, 2 safes, and then the bottom 2. The reason I decided to do that is because I feel like Miss Jade So and Arizona Brandy both did a well enough job to play safe here, where I don't think either of them really deserve a low placement in this episode. Now, originally, Miss Jade So was kind of granted a low placement because she had gone overtime in the challenge. Now, I know that this is not like a thing of placements or whatever that I can like change willy-nilly, but if I were the person, like, you know, being the director, you know, so to say, of these and being like, okay, what are you trying to do already? You know, blah, 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 blah. Time is up. Like, if I'm saying time is up, time is up. I'm not going to let you do more. Time is up. So if I was the person doing this, I would have been like, no, you're done. That's all you get to do. Or I would have given them more than 30 fucking minutes to make these commercials. Like, that is crazy they only had 30 minutes. Like, that's not a lot of time. It's not enough. If they had given them an hour, I would have been like, okay, yeah, an hour for like a 30-second spot. Like, that makes more sense to me. But 30 minutes? That's just so short. You kind of just like, in that way, you just kind of like limit their abilities in a sense of like you're giving them such little time to actually execute the product that's going to be worse than if you just gave them like an hour where they had like enough time to execute like what they wanted to do. Like, that's just, it doesn't make sense to me, only giving them 30 minutes. So regardless, either she would not have finished or she would have finished. And even if she like wouldn't have finished, I still think she would have done better than Bernie and Cat, and she still would have been, like, safe. So I think that she would be safe here instead of the low. And really, every other placement is kind of the same. Obi-kun wins this episode, Hanabeshi is high, and our bottom 2 are Bernie and Captivating Cat. They're going to be lip-syncing to The Power by Anne Ray Neal, and they're gonna both stay. Like, they both did an amazing job this lip sync. There's no reason why I think they both wouldn't stay here. They both did great. So we are going to be moving into episode 9 with 6 contestants, which means we have a double elimination. Bom, bom, bom. And I did not want to do a double elimination. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That just doesn't sound fun to me. Doing a double elimination, the episode before finale, to me just screams like, oh fuck, we fucked up our scheduling. 2 of you bitches need to go. Like, that's what that screams to me, and I don't like it. I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. But I feel like with the way that this season ended up going and the challenges in which it felt like it made sense to have double saves or, you know, like top 2s of the week, it just ended up being a scenario where it just felt like it made the most sense, even though I don't like it. So in this challenge, the contestants have to, like, star in a music video for the song Main Event, which, if you know, is my favorite RuPaul song of all time. I don't know why you would know that. I feel like I mentioned it in a video before, so maybe, I don't remember, but it's a fact. It's my favorite RuPaul song, Main Event, so I was wishing that they were going to write verses to this, and the fact that they did disappoint me greatly, but the fact that they used Main Event in the year of our Lord 2023 is like, okay, hell yeah, I love seeing Main Event. It's such a good song. This is the main event, are you ready? None of you want to hear me sing. So all the placements are the same, except I think Ovi Kant wins the lip sync. In this scenario, Ovi Kant is the frontrunner far and away. And I feel like looking at this lip sync performance, Hanabeshi sadly did the worst. Like, she did the worst. I feel like there's no denying that. So I think Hanabeshi still deserves to go home here. But the question is, does Ovi Kant or Arizona Brandy stay? And I feel like they both did very similar levels of like good in this lip sync. I feel like it's reasonable that either of them could have won it. I do think Arizona started out better from what we saw than Ovi Kant, but I feel like Ovi ended on a better note. I feel like she did better in the second half. So I feel like it was really close to me on their performances, and looking at their track records, Ovi has the best track record going into this episode, and Arizona has the worst. And so the fact that I feel like they did pretty similar levels of good in this lip sync, and the fact that Ovi is the front runner at this point in time, I don't see why you'd get rid of Ovi Kant. You're just kind of sniping your front runner for no reason, in my opinion. So I think she's going to stay here. I made her stay here. And the double elimination is going to happen between Arizona Brandy and Hanabeshi here. And we're going to be moving on to our finale. Now, before I get into this finale and all of the stuff, I feel like this could slightly change and go in different ways, depending on like the lip sync matchups and stuff, and just like your own personal opinion regarding these lip syncs. So in this scenario, Ovi Kant is taking the place of Arizona Brandy. So going off of that logic, our first lip sync is going to be between Bernie and Captivating Cat Cat to Just What They Want by RuPaul. And this lip sync was so fucking evenly matched for me. Like, I genuinely, like, it really was one of those that just kept going back and forth where I was like, okay, Cat Cat's doing better. Okay, Bernie's doing better. Okay, Cat Cat's doing better. Okay, Bernie's doing better. Because you have stuff like, I feel like Bernie emoted the words and like served the words better than Cat Cat did, just overall in the lip sync, just as like a thing. But we do have a bit of wig slippage from Bernie that kind of fucks her up. And then they both have reveals that are like really good and do stuff. Like fucking Cat Cat reveals a fucking like broom, a fucking push broom. And then Bernie has these different outfit reveals and stuff that are also really interesting. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those lip syncs just purely based off of the lip sync where it's like, I don't know who the fuck wins. And I feel like there's genuine merit to saying either of them win. And so I, in this scenario, just went with a scenario that I like better, which is the one who's not racist winning the lip sync. So Bernie is going to win this lip sync. Now, if Cat Cat wins this lip sync, I still think she loses. I do still think she loses. I think Ovi Kant wins the lip sync against Jade, and then Ovi Kant just wins the season due to track record and due to also probably doing a very similar level of good in the final lip sync as Cat Cat would. So I think regardless of whether Cat Cat wins the first lip sync, she's not winning the season. But yeah, in the scenario, because they did so similarly, I decided to go with the person who, you know, has a better track record and who I think is a more enjoyable presence in Bernie. The second lip sync would be between Ovi Kant and Miss Jade So to the song Who Is She by RuPaul. And Jade did a fine job originally. It really was one of those lip syncs for Jade where like she did fine for the first like 75% and then really turned on the shit at the final quarter. That's kind of what it felt like to me. And so I think while there is merit to potentially saying that Jade would win this lip sync based off of the lip syncs we saw from Ovi, I feel like she's gonna do a similar level of solid job to Jade in most lip syncs that you throw at her. And so I feel like basing it off the fact that, again, kind of like between Bernie and Cat Cat, they would probably do similar levels of good in this lip sync. I would say that the person who has a better track record is more deserving of making it to that final two, which is going to be Ovi Kant. And so the final lip sync in this scenario would be between Ovi Kant and Bernie to Kapangarihan by Idolls. And I think Bernie overall is a better lip syncer from what we got to see on the show than Obi Kunt. So I would say that Bernie in this scenario would end up winning the season. But I also think Obi Kunt could win the season if we are going in the other scenario where Cat Cat wins the first lip sync against Bernie, and then Obi Kunt and Cat Cat are the top two. And I feel like both are pretty satisfying, season long arcs where we've Bernie who comes in along with like Cat Cat and Dee Dee as like these legends and staples in like Filipino drag. And she comes in and kind of shines and is like the one that really soars like to the top among them and is like, yeah, I am that bitch and I've been that bitch. And also, having a trans woman winning here is, amazing. In this scenario, all three of our trans contestants do make it to the final four again, as it did happen originally, which I feel like is very nice. But I think Bernie being kind of the queen who's not getting as much into the drama, kind of cutting through like the chaff of it all. Is that the phrase? Cutting through the chaff? I think so. And like making it to the top and being like, yeah, I've been that bitch and I always will be. Providing fierce drag, being mother to everybody. It would feel so satisfying, I feel like, if Bernie were to win the season. And I feel like if Ovi Kunt were to win the season, it'd be very satisfying as well. We have Ovi Kunt kind of being in this group with Marina Summers, Prince, and Eva La Queen, and being the one out of them that wasn't able to compete on the first season and kind of being initially left out of that kind of rise to stardom initially, so to say. And her being able to compete on the second season and being like, I'm here to finish what my sister started, and getting to the finale with the best track record and her winning the season and, kind of like this is for Eva, Marina, and Prince. Like this is for them. Like that would have been a very interesting and satisfying conclusion as well, I feel like. And I feel like overall the storylines on this season really don't change that much apart from that. I feel like they really kind of stay the same. I feel like the only other notable difference is what I mentioned earlier with Hanabeshi, where she kind of gets that initial boost and it's like, hey, I'm here, and we kind of get more of Hanabeshi earlier on. But that's really it. That's really the only changes. Here are the track records for this season. As you can see, Ovi Kunt does have the best track record in terms of the PPE score, with Bernie not very far behind, and Cat Cat also not far behind her. I think literally like a point behind her. And yeah, you can see all the placements there. I use the PPE system, so a win is 5 points. A top 2 is worth 4.5 with the system I use. Highs are 4, safe is 3, low is 2, bottom is 1, elimination is 0. Divided by the amount of episodes, you get your PPE score. We're done with it. It's a very common system. People just do different numbers and stuff with it because, we have to be complicated as gay people, don't we? But that is going to be it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you wish. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below. As always, I will leave my Twitter account linked down below if you want to go follow me on there. I am mainly tweeting about reality competition shows and all of their various forms. The Drag Races, the Big Brothers, the Survivors, the all of it. So yeah, follow me on there if you want to go check that out. And again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.